Would you believe me if I told you that all this stuff costs less than 120 euros? Today I'm going to show you some really strange baits, even more unique items that we'll try out together. In a lake where strange creatures eat rubber baits and where saltwater fish live. But before I take you on my adventure, I need to explain how I got there. While going through the thousands of emails I receive, I found an interesting one from Temu, which I initially thought was a scam. But it wasn't. And after a tiring search through items that cost very little, a big package arrived for me to open. I should have done the unboxing following my contest guidelines, but of course I wanted to do my own thing. But I will briefly explain what I bought and above all why. These are 2 lures I got for bass fishing. They were cheap and I wanted to fill my cart because I didn't know what else to get. Instead, I want to use these to fish for scorpion fish. I like them a lot and they don't stink too much. This one is well made and swims very well, you'll see later. I also got this little box with all these silicone baits. The color isn't bad, and I think it could work. And then there are these, perfect for sea bass. And this other bait. Here, I really have no idea how to rig this. This is cool, but I really wouldn't know how to rig it. I need to find a way to do that, but it's really thin. And then this whole box, which I paid maybe just 6 euros for. And on top of that, these strange baits, I've seen them before. In a video, and then I'll show you how they work. In theory, you put a hook inside, and while you reel them in, they move around. Weights, sinkers, which are perfect, and then these weighted heads. The only thing I'm not sure about is the hook. It's a bit too thick for my liking, but they are well sharpened and come in all sizes. These little hooks are amazing and they cost next to nothing. And then, my favorite, this starlight. The nice thing is that it is not disposable, but you insert a small battery, it turns on and then you screw it on. Putting it on the tip of the rod is a head turn and should not interfere with the line at all. This is definitely something you should have in your tackle box. I also took the opportunity to buy a bunch of these things to hold the 2-piece rods because I never know how to tie them. And besides these weird little hooks, there are also these laces which cost a shit ton of money and work well. And then there's this strange tripod. I'll show it to you at the lake. How to use it. A little hat. This is super cool, trust me. A net, and this is really worth the money I paid for it. And then this hookah, which is really well made. Exactly, it's sturdy, and I think it works even better than the classic plastic ones we usually use. The baits aren't badly made, and they don't smell too much like rubber. Maybe this squid here is a bit lonely, but you just put a sardine in the box and solve the problem in 3 seconds. And I almost forgot this strange slingshot, very unique, which we'll try out together. Anyway, in the description, I'll leave both the discount code and the discount link, so you can pay a little less for the same products. All that's left is to try all this stuff, especially the weird little umbrella, huh? Let's go. Let's head to the lake since we don't like the sea. Let's go. Here I am. Now I'm going to explore this little lake. I've never been here before, huh? Once I arrived at the little lake, I'm immediately struck by the Monticia bags and the plastic bottles thrown in this beautiful place. Oh, come on you guys, can't you just not... Throwing... It's not that hard to not throw plastic in the middle of nature. It weighs a gram a bottle as I walk down this dirt road that will take me to the lake. I see a large swarm of bees, and I immediately understand why. Here there are some beehives that have just been moved. Here everything is blooming and spring has finally arrived. I arrive at the lake. I really don't know what I'll find here, and I decide to head to the left to see if I can catch something. And as soon as I arrive, I see something strange. I really see it. Those are fish, but they don't look like freshwater fish. They look like mullets. What the heck are they doing here? Those are mullets, huh? What the heck are mullets doing in here? The mullet is a fish that can also live in freshwater. Sweet. So that means this lake is somehow connected to the sea. Anyway, mullet or no mullet, we are here to try the baits, and the first one I want to try is this little box of shed. They look nice, and I think they should work pretty well. I try to make a few casts right away to see if I can catch a mullet or maybe a sea bass that's in the lake, but then I remember. The number 1 rule of fishing: never cast where you can't reel in the fish. So, after walking about 100 meters, I move to another part of the lake. Here there are some strange structures, and I'll show you what they're for later. I'm still using the same bait and casting parallel to the shore. As soon as I reel it in, something bites. Watch out. No! It wasn't huge, and it got off after a few meters. The bait is moving well, and the color isn't bad. But it ate my bait, damn it. So I make a couple more casts, but when I reel it in, I find a nasty surprise. Someone ate the tail of my bait, and I know who the culprit is. Among the suspects, it could be her, since there are plenty of turtles around here, and they like to eat little fish. Now I don't know why I brought this tiny backpack, and I decide to change color. Let's try pink and see how it moves. But the bait definitely moves well. And we're not here to fish, but to show how the baits move. Because I can't just do whatever I want, right? And then I decide to try it. The strange bait with the hole that is supposed to work by pulling the line. I know it's bad luck to do this, but I want to give it a try in the water, and it really moves very, very well. Of course, this isn't the best time to catch black bass with these baits that sink slowly. So then I decide to try the two surface baits. I paid a little over €1 each for them. They really don't cost much. They don't cost anything and they move really well, especially the uglier of the two. And I assure you, this one definitely catches sea bass and maybe even barracuda. Even if the build quality is not the best, both he and the other one swim really well, so the test is passed. Obviously this is not the time to fish low on the surface, but how did I know when... Eau de Toleche, I thought they were good for the sea, but the sea is obviously not good for trying. And in this strange lake, full of lines and twists that remind me a lot of water skiing, there are also two fishermen. Among other things, there's also this barrel, half rusty, and the hull of an abandoned boat. I'm cursing myself because I brought myself. The jacket, it's damn hot, so I take it off, I put it on, I put my backpack on, it just pisses me off. I really like this lake, too bad that I've seen the mullets, so I have my doubts about the taste of the water. But hey, maybe I could still catch some sea bass. But those turtles quickly put my doubts about the water's taste to rest, since they definitely don't live in salt water. And then for sure these two are fishing for black bass because they have all the gear for it. And on the other side, there's a kid who hooks like he's fishing for tuna, but I think he hasn't caught anything. While that blue thing you see in the middle of the lake, this is another kid who just got smashed while trying not to fall on this water slide. I thought I had found peace and quiet. In this lake, there's more chaos here than in the center of... But why are they shouting? And since it's really hot as hell and everyone is acting like idiots, I decide to do it too. Me, trying on the strange little hat I had found. Yes, you understood correctly. This is not an umbrella, but a hat. You put it on like this and there you go. Now, I definitely look like an idiot, but I have to say that even though it looks ridiculous to be seen with this thing, it really keeps you cool, and I think that when it rains... So, whenever I go fishing, except for today when I'm dying of heat, it's awesome. It costs next to nothing. And if I know the very strange things about Chinese sites that deep down, in my opinion, if one is alone, nobody knows. They can work. Now let me put the hat back on with the hope that if I wear it, I might catch something. But it's interesting, this little hat really keeps you cool. Nice, we like it. Brief attention. Commercial break. It's not a commercial break, but I forgot to bring my slingshot. And thank goodness, since it doesn't fit in the backpack anymore. Now let's give it a try. Let's see if it's accurate. I also brought a couple of stones and a jar. I placed the jar about 10 meters away from where I am, and I tried to take a couple of shots. The first ones failed, but I managed to catch the second one by cheating a bit. The slingshot isn't bad, but I think it's better for those small steel balls because the stones are too big. In fact, they don't shoot well. But then the steel balls, I think they're perfect. They really whip out. I think it's perfect. It really packs a punch. The only thing that didn't really convince me is this monocle, which should magnify a lot more. But honestly, it doesn't do miracles. But let's get back to our little pond. I modified the strange bait by adding a sinker. And I have to say it moves a lot better and is much less boring to use. But we figured out that in this little pond there are probably only mullets, or maybe there are also black bass, but in winter I'm not good at catching them, or I just don't feel like it. But if you know me, many of you have understood that I don't care about catching a fish at all costs. It's enough for me to be in nature and see scenes like this. Like this fish that I didn't understand what the hell it was, that darts at full speed towards my bait without even eating it. Oh, like this other one, a tiny fish, maybe a sunfish, that jumps at the bait without getting hooked. By the way, I also tried using the swing bait and it swims really well, but I made some terrible recordings and you can't really tell what's going on. After 500 billion casts, maybe the wind is reminding me that it's time to head back home. But I have to say that the products work well, they're well made, the quality is excellent, and the cap is beautiful. It's obvious that maybe during Carnival you put on a bit more of a show, but if you're alone or not embarrassed, I think the hat has its reason. Especially if it's raining. Now, however, there's one big truth. I really don't like fishing for black bass. And I really don't like it for 3 reasons. The first reason is that I would probably fish for these fish in a completely different way, using a lure or a nice big worm. The second reason is that I've always been born, raised, and lived by the sea. And maybe fishing in lakes just isn't for me. The third reason is that I'm not good at it, so I don't have fun. Well, you decide.